The thoughts and opinions of this show is that of Drazy and does not coincide with all of Dre's Radio Cafe. Listening discretion is advised.
Yo, what's up? It's your girl, Boss Lady, aka Miss Fabulous, aka DJ D-Ski, presenting Boss Ladies Radio Jam. This mixtape is a huge selection of the dopest artists, dopest tracks, all showcased on Boss Lady Radio Show. So, it's dedicated to local artists worldwide. Make sure you tune in. It'll be uploaded on SoundCloud on the 19th in Australia time at midnight, on the 18th at midnight in USA time. Yes, it's going down worldwide, globally. We're not just playing in local cities. We are global. We are one and we are many. So check us out. Represent 25 to Life Records, you know what I'm saying? And shout out, salute to all the fans, members, and affiliate of the clan. Once again, it's your girl, Boss Lady D, a.k.a. Miss Fabulous, a.k.a. DJ D-Ski. D-Ski. See you in the chat room.
What's good? It's your girl, Lana Lay, and you are now tuned into Dre's Radio Cafe. Keep the hits coming, ayy.
Hey, thank y'all so very, very much for tuning in. Listen, I am your host, Drazy, Dre's Radio Cafe. Once again, another episode of In My Opinion. I thank y'all so very, very much for tuning in. Today's episode is based off the idea of where's the beef, all right? When I sit here and say where's the beef, you got to excuse some of this noise. My chair, a little bit of AC in here. Listen, when I speak about where's the beef, I'm speaking about on behalf of old school beat, whether it be hip hop, man, and it don't have to be just hip hop, because we go back and we listen to back in the day. I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but Mozart had a beef. All right, he had beef with somebody. Man, Garth Brooks had beef. Man, the list goes on and on and on. There was beefs way back in the day. Dixie Chicks had beef. Man, thinking of all of the different crews and people that had beef back in the day. The Roxanne era was beef, if you look back that far. MC Shan and KRS-One was beef, if you go back that far. There was beef back in the day, and that's a long list of them. I was going to go through and talk about several different styles of beef and different beef issues, because it wasn't just male on male or female against female. It was also male against female, because if you go back and look about it, Taylor Swift, Elton John, Nicki Minaj, and Taylor Swift and Kanye West. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Dixie Chicks had beef back in the day too. Man, and it just wasn't them. It was rock stars. There were rock stars that had beef. Guns N' Roses had beef with everybody. Van Halen had beef with themselves. If you look back at the expansion of the word beef and how beef is, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. Now, beef nowadays is a totally different era and idea, because now we're doing punchlines to music, which we were doing punchlines to music before, but now it's more just beef battles. A lot of stage beefing. The most recent, if we go through the most recent right now, is the one that started between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Drake has been a part of a foundation for what the music was in the past 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years. You have Kendrick Lamar, who's been a staple to West Coast music, and it's been such kinds of beef that has caught the eyes of a lot of people. Man, it's amazing what you think about beef, because there was also females beefs back in the day. One of the ones furthest back, if you don't look at the Roxanne era as being beef, but there was females in beef. If you go far back enough, you'll see MC Lyte and Antoinette. Then as years progressed, you got the Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown. Then you had the Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. I mean, and it goes on. Like right now, we're looking at years later, and you've got Sukihana, whatever her name is, versus JT from City Girls. I mean, so we're just it's beef all over, and it's beef in different formats. So females have beef, males got beef. As you go through the male beef is so different. It's so raw, so rough and rugged, because we got men that are literally going at other men's necks about music all the time in some sense or another. And it's kind of weird because we try our best to, we're trying to figure out which beef is, and it's not up for us to decide what beef is, how far this beef goes. I've got a dozen, dozens of beefs that I know a lot of people may and may not have known of, but used to be there. I can go down a list of some of them, but I just want to touch on some today. If y'all want me to go through some more, I will go through some more, but I just really want to touch on certain ones that will make the difference in how we look at life today as we just go through today. Because my thing is I grew up in the era of KRS One, MC Shin, LL Cool J, Kumo D, to the most recent ones like Meek Mill, the Meek Mill era, him and Drake going at it. Then you've got some like, I don't know if y'all remember, but Joe Budden's had a beef with people, and with the Amigos. That's been recent. That was one of those that you had a while back. Madonna and Elton John. I went through a bunch of listening to beef back in the day. Once again, like I told y'all before, Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart had a beef way back in the day also. But their beef was a little bit different. Let me see. Ice Cube and Common. Ice Cube and NWA. Let me think. I'm trying to think of so many of them. There were so many. Biggie and Pac. One of the iconic beefs in all of music industry, and the list just goes on and on and on. I don't know if y'all ever knew that Lauryn Hill had a beef with Wyclef Jean from Fuji, and they both were members of the Fugees. That could have been that was the Fuji. I'm trying to think of what they called it. It wasn't called a Fuji War. It was something else. But yeah, they had a beef back in the day too. If a lot of y'all know, Gucci Mane and Jeezy had beef back in the day. Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly, Eminem and Benzino from the Source magazine, owner of the Source magazine. Let me think. It's a lot of them. Lil Wayne and Birdman. You remember Lil Wayne and Birdman had beef. Let me see. What are we talking about? James Brown had a beef with Joe Tex over stage presence. So, there was beef back then in terms of all the stuff that was going on. So there was beef back in the day on levels that was just like unknown. Like there was beefs back then. Mason Cameron. If y'all remember that one. You remember they both had the same, so they had claimed that one took the style from the other one. One was known as Murder Mace before he became Mason. Diddy took him off to just the good old sunset and he became who he was. Cameron, old boy, Mr. Old Boy and all that stuff. Same thing, same situation. I'm trying to think of some more beefs that I can think of. KRS One, MC Shan, Jadakiss and Benny Siegel. One of the most iconic ones, Ja Rule and 50 Cent. Listen, sometimes beef can ruin a career if you think about it. Ja Rule's career got ruined from the beef between him and 50 Cent. They went back and forth. Actually, I'll go through this beef with y'all real quick. If y'all don't remember, 50 made the song Wanksta talking about Ja Rule. Ja Rule came back, and this is the hip hop note that I will throw at y'all. This is kind of a hip hop cookie in the mix of everything. Ja Rule made a song called oh snaps, what is it called? New York. I got 100 guns, 100 clips, nigga, I'm from New York. Yes, that song right there originally was supposed to be Fat Joe's song, but Fat Joe gave him that song because Ja Rule gave him a song prior to that made a whole lot of money. Let me see, what song was it? It's a song with him and Ashanti that they did a long time ago. So tit for tat, musical note. Fat Joe's song should have actually been Ja Rule. Well, actually, Ja Rule's song should have been Fat Joe's song. So that's just a little mental note for y'all to take with y'all a little bit. But that ruined Ja Rule's career to where he has no career no more. That's kind of what the process is right now. What a lot of people talking about the process is right now between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, because Drake has awards after awards after awards, just like Kendrick Lamar has. But now it's to the point where after Kendrick Lamar came out with Not Like Us, it took away a career from somebody. But we don't exhibit that like we do. We look at things so different. You know, when the generations look at things, they look at it so different. There's been other beefs that has done very, very well, but hasn't ruined careers. For an example, let's take T.I. T.I. once had a beef with Lil Flip, and then at the same time too, he was having beef with Ludacris. Ludacris, I think it all stemmed from a song that Young Buck did, and 50 had beef with Young Buck back in the day. So I mean, we're going through people who had beef with other people's beefs. Well, Young Buck made a song called Stomp back in the day that initially had it was either Ludacris or T.I. on it originally, but they took the verses off because it began to influctuate each other's speaking. So in other words, they were beefing on the track that they were both on, beefing with each other. And that's not the first time that ever happened. That's just the first time people have really noticed it, because if you look prior to, one of the greatest rappers of all time, one of the true GOATs, LL Cool J, had a song that he had called 1 2 3, I believe it was 1 2 3 4 or 1 2 3 4. I can't remember what the song was, but it had Method Man, Cannabis, and LL and somebody else on it. And that song resonated with the idea that Cannabis was talking about LL in his own song. So come to find out, LL makes a song on Cannabis, and Cannabis comes out with round 2 or first round knockout or something like that, and then comes out with round 2, and then it's beef after beef after beef. So they're back and forth beefing. But that's not the first time LL had beef with somebody, because LL originated his beef back prior with Kumo D. If y'all know Kumo D, I mean, Mama Said Knock You Out was one of LL's greatest hits, but that wasn't the knockout blow for Kumo D, because Kumo D was still doing music. Kumo D just fell back. And you didn't hear from Kumo for a while, but Kumo was still out doing his thing still, because he had a beef back in the day with Busy B. So I mean, it's not the first time people had beef with people. Tupac had beef with Biggie Smalls, but also had beef with Mobb Deep. So I mean, and then you can go back even further if you want to, and you can go through the NWA era with Ice Cube and his beef with the whole NWA prior to Dre, you know, going to make it, which will eventually be his, you know, best life ever. But yeah, Ice Cube, if you ever watch, you know, best movie to watch for a documentary is Straight Outta Compton. If you ever watch Straight Outta Compton was probably one of the greatest put together movies of all time, just basically because it told the real story of all five members of NWA in its entirety, with the idea of Jerry being the ringleader and all this stuff that was going on. But at one point in the movie, Ice Cube leaves and becomes he teams up with the Lynch Mob and, you know, the Africa Islam, and you know, he was going through his little stage and whatnot, and he made No Vaseline. No Vaseline has to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, diss track ever, other than one that I will mention later on down the line. But there were so many different diss tracks that people have that can ruin a person's life or a person's career. And No Vaseline really went at everybody that was involved in NWA. Every single member. Dre, MC Ren, Yella, Eazy-E. I mean, it was just all there. One hit, one punch, in a fight that really wasn't all that. It was dramatic because even NWA came back with 100 Miles and Running, and came back, firing on all cylinders against Ice Cube, and that was just it. You couldn't go against No Vaseline. There was nothing that you can go against No Vaseline. But that was the beef back then. Now, if you look like 20, 30 years later, they're all good. They're all fine. May rest in peace, Eazy-E. But, of course, Ren, Dre, all of them, they all got together and did an album. Well, they didn't do an album. They did a song or two together. But you heard Dre on several tracks with Ice Cube and whatnot, and they go on tours and do all kind of things. So, I mean, a lot of names haven't been wrecked on themselves as long as it was in-house, and a lot of them dealt with in-house. I mean, Van Halen did it. Guns N' Roses did it. Creedence Clearwater Revival did it. It was a bunch of groups that internally had beef with themselves, and that's one of the crazy things about what beef is. All right, beef is just, it's crazy. We look at it differently, and everybody has it, whether it's a double stack, single stack, whatever. Beef is just weird when it comes to music, because you never know what can happen when somebody comes at you in a form of fashion. This is kind of probably the worst, to me, one of the worst forms of conversation in any form of fashion that you can actually think of, because in all honesty, I wouldn't want to beef with somebody that knows all your deepest, darkest secrets and is quick to expose them in a music format. That's what it is. They're exposing every one of your weaknesses in a music format, and then a lot of times it can be damaging to a person's career. Look at all the bad things that was said between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, and Drake was going at everybody. Rick Ross, Future, you name it, he was going against every last one of them. And the idea that he was just he's untouchable, but he really is not. He's not untouchable. Apparently somebody put him out there and put him on blast, and they put him in a position where he just cannot get himself out of what he's into right now. All right. Now, let me not speak on that for the moment time being, because there was another beef that came and it took America by storm, and a lot of people have read into it so much that eventually what had to happen was a truce, because it was getting so far out of hand. This is what I'm talking about with I'll get to the famous one, the most famous one, but this is the next one to me, in my opinion. That's why it's called In My Opinion, was the Nas and Jay-Z beef. If you think about it, how far back it goes back really, really far. Excuse me. I think that a lot of it is just progression of what we live in, what we are right now. Because here's the thing. There's been times that I thought to myself, what if Nas actually was more popular at one point or another than Jay-Z? Would Nas be that one with that superstar out there that's just making a name for himself constantly? And Nas has always been able to hold his own. Don't get me wrong, Nasir is one of the greatest, the absolute greatest word spitters, storytellers that I've ever met, in exception to Rakim or KRS-One. It's a lot of them out there, but namely speaking, when I think of Nasir, I think of Rakim, because Rakim is one of the greatest vocalists that there is out there. There's a difference between vocalists and storytellers and lyricists, all right? But Nas is one of the greatest, and Nas's way of thinking when Jay-Z came at him was to put out a song that was just so bad, like it just magnified what he wanted to say about Jay-Z, and that song was Ether. Ether was another one of those kind of like No Vaseline that you just couldn't fool it. And if you notice, both No Vaseline and Ether is kind of like raw, like really raw. Like you can't go any different, no stronger, unless you put propane out there, something like propane in the situation, or methane gas or something like that. But Ether was enough. It was crazy how we took in the idea that Jay-Z had him beat by a long shot. Nobody thought that it would happen. And now that we've even gotten to a newer age, a newer perception of things happen so much faster. I always talk about that fastness, the fast era that we're in right now. after I speak about this last one, the most popular one of everybody had to be Biggie and Pac. Hit 'em up, and all the songs that just came out, because Tupac had a way of doing things, and Biggie had a way of doing things. They were both. That was the coast rivalries, East Coast West Coast rivalry. That was what that was. Always something that had to have something to fuel that. It was always, man, I slept with your gal. You know what I'm saying? Or this, that, and other. Let me tell you about beef. A lot of the times, beef are fueled off the three things in life: sex, money, power. That's it. That's usually what the beefs boil down to. And there's been plenty of other beefs. You know what I'm saying? What was I thinking about earlier? Of course, Mobb Deep and Pac. Drake and Pusha T. I mean, that was another one. When we go overseas, you got Oasis and Blur. They were another one of those that had musical beefs. I'm trying to think of a lot of them that I would not have thought of back in the day. Of course, T.I. and Lil Flip, that was one. T.I. and Flip was one. When I spoke on it earlier, saying Ludacris was part of it too, it was. Lil Flip came with Game Over, and he was talking really bad about T.I. T.I. came back, and he did some talking about his Lucky Charm stuff, and then Young Dro came in as part of Grand Hustle, and he made some jokes on Lil Flip. I mean, it was one of them things where sometimes even your crew got in on what they is, because Eminem had D12 that came in on beef, and there was a time where, listen, believe it or not, Eazy-E had issues with Dre. Dre came out with Snoop, and Dre was worried about 2 Live Crew and Tim Dog and Eazy-E. Dre and Snoop just came through, and he threw an extra punch in there for all the stuff that was going on. So I mean, it's plenty of beef that's there, that if you really did your homework, somebody had beef with somebody. I mean, even like Gucci Mane had issues with Waka Flocka Flame. I'm just thinking of all the people that 50 in Game. I'm trying to look at all that I have on here on my site. LL and Cannabis. Yes, I got you that. Cameron, MC Light and Antoinette. Pearl Jam and Nirvana. Both wonderful rock bands. Both was at their chime, but they also had a lot of beef too going between the two, and it was amazing how you look at this and you say to yourself, at what cost are we beefing for? A lot of it was just, it's magnificent music at its finest, but it's just, some of it is heartbreaking, because you don't want to see these things happen in so sensitive fashions. You had Ja Rule and 50, you had Drake and Meek Mill, you had KRS-One and MC Shin. Think about this: The Bridge Is Over. These are Queens rappers. You know what I'm saying? These are people going at each other about neighborhoods. MC Shin, KRS-One, shot in love to both of them. It was amazing going through that era with them, because they gave us a different insight. Let me tell you about one of the very first hip hop beefs of all time. I remember this when I was younger. I know a lot of y'all probably go back and do your homework on this, because this is kind of like hip hop 101. Let's go back to the Roxanne era. Okay, let's go back to the Roxanne era. We're not talking about the Police and Roxanne. We're not doing that. We're not talking about that one. We're talking about the Roxanne era of UTFO. Back in the day, UTFO made a song called Roxanne, Roxanne. And when they made that song, they talked about a female named Roxanne. What they did was, and this is kind of this is iconic, alright, because it brings in some things. What they did was they got a female named Roxanne, and to do a rebuttal to what their song was. And in the process of that, it started a worldwide phenomenon of beef between rappers. And Roxanne goes at UTFO like she's never been before. And UTFO eventually came back at her, and she initially came back at them. That's where the real Roxanne came from. That is amazing because another person came through and did a rebuttal on top of the rebuttals, which is dope. So if you go through and you do your homework, and I will eventually be giving classes on that as Hip Hop 101, but you will go and you see that down the line. Listen, this ain't the first time that there's been so much beef, man. Let me just go down a list of a bunch of them let me tell you, one of the most iconic ones that y'all didn't even know existed was Michael Jackson and Prince. They had beef too. Eminem and MGK, Machine Gun Kelly. Trying to see if there's any I missed. Beastie Boys had one with Russell Simmons. Trying to think if it's some that I missed. Toby Keith and the Dixie Chicks. I remember that one. Michael and Prince, Migos, Joe Buttons, Pusha T. I'm trying to think if it's anybody I missed. Cannabis, Lil Wayne, Baby. I remember those. Taylor Swift and Kanye. I remember Taylor Swift and Kanye. If y'all don't remember that one, that was another one. Luda and T.I., French Montana, Young Thug. Trying to think. MC8 and DJ Quick. How did I miss that one? In my head. MC8. Okay, so if you take in accountability how smart both of these guys was, MC8 and DJ Quick, take their names. DJ Quick said, "You're not a G because a G ain't in you." MC8 spells his name EIHT. And at one point or another, MC8 came at DJ Quick and said, QUIK because you can't see me, saying he missed the C in his name. So they both went at each other about their names and how their names is spelled and pronounced. Ingenious when it was coming to beef between the two of them, but an amazing idea just for the idea of what it is. Man, I'm just saying, like, beef has a full-fledged way of getting through things. MC8 and them both went at each other for years till they finally figured out they can make more money being together than they were separate. So a lot of these groups that you eventually see, I pray that they all make music together, because a lot of the times the music that they give us is legendary. Music is therapy. Music is great. One of them things that we stay so tuned and deep in and in depth in that we just forget what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? I can go and listen to any of their beefs now, any of their beef, as a normal song because it was what it was, and be like, dang, I remember that beef, or I remember that conversation, I remember what that was like. You know, so it's so many conversations on beef that exist that is outrageous that we sit here and we don't recognize the idea that we do it. Now, can I say that there could be, I don't know, we did the Lil Kims and Foxy Browns, we did the MC Lights and Antoinettes, we did the Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, we did the Taylor Swifts and Nicki Minaj. I mean, it wasn't just females, it wasn't just males, it wasn't just male against female, it wasn't female just against male. It was so much beef out there that it was unreal how we figure in what we are listening to. But the thing about it is like I said before, the three things sell us all the time: money, power, respect. That's it. We're sold off those three so much that we literally just like, we love to listen to this beef. I mean, they might not be like us, but it done put a rest in peace symbol on a very good artist. Have I seen a lot of people beef that much? No. You got some of the best rappers out there that ain't beefing, really, that should have beefed a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Then when you get to the verses and stuff like that, that's a whole nother story, but I'm not going to get into that because you still had Thugs and Harmony, Bones Thugs and Harmony fighting against 666 Mafia. What about Chris Brown and Drake? I mean, it wasn't just rappers going against singers or country people against country people. It was singers against rappers, everything that you can imagine. T-Pain was getting beefed on with Jay-Z because of the auto-tune. You remember Death of the Auto-Tune? That was Jay-Z and T-Pain going at it. So, I mean, it was what it was. I I know y'all want me to sit and talk about this more, and I really truly wish I could. I know I have to get up out of here. I know my time limit has come to its close. I thank y'all so very much for tuning in with me. If y'all want me to do more topics like this, talk about more things like this, want me to do this episode live on my own show, y'all feel free to hit me up, and we can talk about this in any format, any style, any form. But as of right now, I have to get up out of here because I've done extrude my time, use my time up. I mean, been way past my time, and I thank y'all for being so in tune, so listening, so iconically involved with me. If I missed any beefs that you want me to talk about or I should talk about, feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, share, and then like and love if you don't mind. The content that I give y'all is purely my own opinion, and I know some of y'all may like it and may not like it, may not like some of the words I say or disliking some of the words that I do say. If that's so, please feel free to talk to me. Y'all can hit me up 615-540-3998. Text me, call me, leave me a message, however you want to do it. Also, you can submit music for my station and my podcast and stuff to drezey21@yahoo.com. I will show y'all ways to reach me. I thank y'all so very much for tuning in. I am getting ready to get up out of here. This was episode called Where is the Beef? I always tell everybody at the end of my show, put God first, protect, provide, spread love, and get this money. Until then, I'm going to leave y'all with ways to reach me, and I'm out of here until next time. Peace. Ways to reach me. DREZEY21@yahoo.com. That's DREZEY21@yahoo.com. You can also call 615-540-3998. That's 615-540-3998. If I do not answer, feel free to leave me a message or send me a text message. I will get them as soon as possible, and I will return your message, all right? Also, you can check out the website, www.Dre's Radio Cafe. That's www.DRESRADIOCAFE.com, all right? Man, so many ways to reach me. Hit me up whenever you get the opportunity. That's Dre's Radio Cafe. What you sipping on? Let's get into it. Let's go.